Hi, first up we have Deborah and her bunny character. First thing is make sure you're looking at this in rough mode as well as smooth. So I just hit 1, I selected the surface and hit 1. And yeah, there's it's kind of a mess around here. So I might suggest doing that again. And you'll also notice, it's not symmetrical. This is real wavy here. So to make it symmetrical again, I'm going to go front view, hotbox, click in the center, front view. Let's zoom in on that. Right mouse click, face. I'll select half the body, and I'm going to have to really check my selection closely here to make sure that I didn't get any faces I didn't mean to get. And that looks good. And you can do either side, like whichever one you think looks better. I think they're about equal, so I'll just delete this side. And I also think that this is kind of a mess here, so I'm just going to delete that off, and we'll see if we can clean that up. Let's do that before we mirror it again. Now, the thing that concerns me is this seems, whoops, should be vertex, sorry. Okay, then there's something going on here we need to sort of untangle a little bit. Okay. And then if I want to straighten that out, I'll go back to the front view. I've selected all of those, and I'm going to do R for scale, and then just go like that, and should straighten them out better than that. I'm not sure why it's not. Yeah, usually I get those real lined up, but I mean, certainly better than it was. And then I might, go in this view and I would just use this red one here just so to move it only in 2 directions at a time. It's not really picking the ones I want. So that's starting to look more round. Yeah. And we can try this again, this scaling trick. Don't know why it's not flattening out quite the way I want it to, but okay. Alright, so yes, we were mirroring. So the next thing, let me just hide the head for the moment. Why is that? Is this parented to that or something? Yeah, don't do that. Okay, I'm gonna unparent it. Shift P. Whoops. No. What is parented to what? Q. Oh, this. There's that. Okay, I'll do Shift P. Oh, I have my shape nodes turned on. That's just going to confuse things for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yes, the body mirror. So, let's get this. Oh, I said I'd hide the head for a minute. And I'd like to have the feet touching the ground. We can always line up the head again later. We'll want to get this whole inside edge. I just double clicked it, and we'll want that to be lined up on the axis here. So I don't know if it'll let me do this in edge mode. My trick for that is to actually there's a couple different ways we can do this, but control right mouse click, 2 vertices will convert that to vertices. And then I wonder if I do this, will it snap? If I just click on this direction, hold down X for grid snap, and then middle mouse drag here. Now see, it moves it that distance, but it doesn't snap it to the center, so that does not work. So the way we have to do this is with these guys right up here, called absolute transform. So we want absolute transform on, and this is if you if you look, that's the X direction because it's red, X, Y, Z, RGB. It's the mnemonic for that. So we want this to be on absolute, and then in the X direction we want it to be at 0, which is the center line. So type 0, enter, straight. Good. So now all of those are lined up along the center. This would be a good time to fix these a little bit. If I use this red one again, it'll move it without making it not centered, because it's only moving it in the Y and X direction and not the, I'm sorry, in the Y and Z direction and not the X direction. So anyways, if you wanted to clean up some of that stuff, now would be a good time. Maybe let's move this in a little bit because it's just so close to the center of the torso. Okay. Good. So now just want to double check there's no funny business here with this stuff. Okay. Wait, move that over a bit. Okay. Just trying to kind of clean up the topology a little bit. All right. Not real happy with that either. You know, anywhere you see sort of like a real pinch or stretch, that's kind of a signal that, you know, maybe you need more topology there or to make some adjustments or something. All right, so now it's just one more double check. Does this appear to be along the center line? We can, you know, check that edge, and that sure does. So, so we can try using the mirror geometry tool. Doesn't always do what you want. Is it mesh tools? I think it's just mesh, isn't it? Oh yeah, I was right the first time. Mirror geometry options. So again, this is the X direction. That's the positive X direction because the arrow's pointing that way. So positive X, merge with the original, merge vertices. Okay. So not sure why that did such a bad job, and I'm wary of that mirror tool because it does funky stuff. So let's do this manually. Before I do that, I'll go ahead and delete history, edit delete by type history, and let's go ahead and freeze transformations as well. That'll take all these numbers and turn out the translates and rotates to 0 and the scales to 1. There we go. And now just double check that that is right in the middle there. It sure looks like it. Okay, so I will duplicate this, Control D for duplicate, scale -1 in the X direction. Okay, and select these two, mesh combine. See if there's any options here. And then this is the important part. Like after you've combined it, there's actually two verts along the center there. So we need to, just because it combined it doesn't mean it merged along the center line. So we need to do that. So now I can pick, see, I didn't, let's do it a little more carefully here. Okay. And then I can do edit mesh. Merge components, options, just the default should be fine. And now what you'll see is if I do that again, it's solid, it's watertight. So now you have a kind of a shape that's more sound to work from. And at this point, I should be able to, let's click here, let's turn on symmetry, and now I can, you know, move points around and it'll stay symmetrical. And if you ever mess that up, you just need to go through that process again. You know, look for those real kind of pinched areas, and let's kind of get rid of those. And you know, you can go back and forth. You can check this in 3 and see what it looks smooth once in a while. I'm not saying don't do that, but I see a lot of people making this mistake where they are they spend all their time in smooth, and then they realize they have kind of a messed up model at the end of the day, um, that you really don't want. So can we flatten these out? Yeah, that's a little better. And then let's get these more rounded. Um, Probably should be using this one, which is what I intended to do. It's not a big deal, but okay. So, I mean, starting to get a more cleaned up base kind of thing to work from now. And then, sort of keep shaping this, and, you can add in loops with the multi-cut tool where appropriate. You'll have some elbows, and then every time you add a loop, work on the shape of those. I kind of like to have these. I select one and double click on the next one, it'll select the whole loop. R for scale, flatten those out, and then keep sculpting and shaping from there. Get a better shape on that, and keep adding detail. So you've got a ways to go, but I think first thing is let's get this thing symmetrical and cleaned up a little bit. Head, gotta move that up. No, whoops. Select and move it up. Yeah, so again, I would say start by looking out for these kind of overlapping verts and edges. So, kind of untangling um, some of this. Actually, let's see if we got symmetry working here. Symmetry, not symmetrical. Oh, well, that might be why right there. Did I do that? I don't think I did that. Whoops. So can do for those kinds of things. You should be able to do mesh fill hole. Where is fill hole? Okay, here it is. Okay. And let's try that again. Are we going to be so? Oh, lucky. Okay. So then, yeah. So go in and clean up these kind of overlapping. Faces and edges. So look for those kind of pinch points, and this looks a little odd the way that's there. And we can move that back a bit so it's not crowding it. And it looks, yeah, this is looking real kind of tight in here. I think that in a way it feels like you made it harder by doing the ears this early, and the head feels a little misshapen by the ears. I don't know. I might have just really focused in on the head first, got the nice head shape, and then added the ears afterwards. Oh, it looks like this looks rather pinched in there. Anyways, and this yeah, it doesn't look like you've got an edge loop around the mouth. I guess you do, but the shape's a bit crazy. So one of the things I had talked about on the design phase was to get it a little bit more human. So I mean, I guess you have your, you don't really quite have the loop around the eye, or do you? Oh, you do. Okay, well, you can add another loop here and get that more round, and start adding detail in there. And the mouth, I just think I would just take a step back and get this a little more human shape before I try to move forward on this guy. I guess this is asymmetrical here when I look at the neck. So I would go ahead and go through that same process we did on the body with the head. Just follow those same steps. So yeah, ways to go, but you're not dead in the water. I just think make sure you're looking at it in rough, probably more than smooth. This, like, you can look at that once in a while, but most of your modeling should be done like that, because that's where you're going to see the issues. And then go, oh, what does it look like smooth? And then get back to work. Um, all right, well, keep moving forward. Next up is Sebastian, and yeah, looking really good. Yeah, so right off the bat, this looks good. Um, kind of want him centered on the origin, so you're going to want to center him. What I might do is, um, wow, what is all that? Oh gosh, what is all that stuff? I guess that's everything. Oh, so he is grouped. So let's center the pivot, modify center pivot, and then I'll click here so it just moves in that direction, and hold down X and grid snap, and that's not quite centered. So yeah, I don't know, maybe he's not perfectly symmetrical. So I mean, ideally you'd find a point on him that's, we're fairly confident is dead center. Oh, look, he's not symmetrical here. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I would tend to say to make him symmetrical. You know, I think that if you want, like that kind of variation, nobody's going to notice. And, sometimes people want to have an asymmetrical character design, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that, it just makes rigging and other things harder. So it's better to have a symmetrical character, perfectly symmetrical. So I might not do it again since I just did it in the last critique. So if you want to see, and just delete half the faces, mirror, merge, combine and merge, like I did with the last one. Um, yeah, so yeah, good topology on the face here. This is coming along nicely. Um, I think that you're going to want to work on this lower lid here. You might add some detail and make sure that's not intersecting the eye so much. So kind of, I guess what I would do is I would probably let's hide the eye for a second and maybe take like that one and double click here. Okay, so I got that sort of row of them. And then let's unhide, Control Shift H. And then I'm going to do B for soft select, and that's much too big. So I'm going to hold down the B as in boy key, click and drag to the left, and I have to go quite a ways. Okay. Maybe something like that. And then pull that out, and it should sort of smoothly pull out that lower lid. That should help, and then maybe we can. So I still have soft select on, which is kind of helping. I should have mirrored it, but I have to remirror this anyways, so I might just sort of work on one side of the character and then, mirror that over to the other side since I wanted to remirror it anyway. So yeah, I think there's still some that could be done on this, but I think using soft select is going to give you a good workflow. Yeah, and you might try to go spread these out a little bit so you get sort of a lower lid. I can give it a shot. And let's decrease this soft select thing that I have going on here. Pull that up some. Yeah. You can try using your arrow keys to pick walk. So let's see what happens if I do down. See, that's a little dangerous. It sometimes does weird selections. I'm going to undo that. Left, no, right, no. Yeah, it just sometimes you can get it to pick walk nicely, other times not. So anyway, shift double click, maybe move that up a bit. Whoops. Oh, I must be on the wrong row. Isn't that not? Isn't that the right row? I don't know. I guess not. Anyway, so I'm kind of pulling it up and getting a bit of a lower lid there. Um, yeah, maybe a little more shape to the lips. Kind of getting that. The way I like to think about the lips is that it's sort of like, and I know this is a stylized character, but I like to think of it as like the area of the mouth kind of forms this shape here, and then the lips more cut in than bulge out. And I get this thing with models what I always call fish lips, which is this is actually not as much of an example as I see with a lot of them, but let me show you what I mean. This is kind of an example of what I mean, but see how it's kind of more like the skin of the face that sticks out here, and then the lips kind of sort of cut in. I mean, I know it's sticking out a little bit there, but it depends on the face. Sometimes that's a pretty pronounced chin, which is kind of exaggerating that shape. But that sort of thing of the lips kind of more kind of cutting in than bulging out. Something to think about, if you know what I mean. Anyways, so if you can kind of get that here and then get the lips to kind of go in a little bit, is something to work on. But overall, this is good. This is usable right away. What does this look like? That's all right. If you want to give something a little bit of thickness to it, like the end of these things here, let's turn off B for turning off the. You can just extrude edge. So I can just hit the extrude button. That'll extrude the edge, and then click here, and I'm gonna have to do a little channel changer thing, and then scale this into the center. Just a little bit, and then extrude again. And in this case, I might again use it's a absolute one versus. And that, sometimes just that, maybe you want to extrude one more time, but sometimes that just does it, just a couple little extrudes. And obviously, if you can see in there, you can see that thing. I can always do it one more time and then click the little, I like to call that the channel changer, and then move it up again. And then now it's a distance. Probably, we were not going to be hopefully looking up his shorts too much. So that's a quick way to get thickness, is to just sort of wrap it around there. I think this is intersecting the belt, and I think the belt shape, I guess it depends what material that is, but I think you're going to want to get in here and make sure this doesn't intersect the body anyways. Does symmetry work on this guy? Yeah, it is. Okay, so B, and then I'm just double clicking to get that loop and trying to sort of shape it a little bit more to his body. But I guess what I was starting to say was, it's like, I don't know, it looks like a belt that'd be made out of some very thick sort of rope or something. I don't know if that's what you intended, but when I think of a belt, I think more of like a leather strap kind of thing. So, anyways, the point of the story is don't have this surfaces intersect so much. And yeah, you might, again, this is a little bit too. This object here is a bit too much of just a straight up primitive. So you might want to look at some reference and just, I don't know, for a belt hoop shape. But I mean, the good news is that this is good. It's pretty much usable right away. I might do that thing with the shoe again, that kind of folding over the lip of the shoe. I would give this a little more shape. They're looking very blocky. Again, get some reference for that. Yeah, the face looks really good, and I like the sort of alien lumps you got going on his head, and uh, yeah, it should work well. Let's take a look at the hands. Yeah, nice job on the hands. Could put a, try to do it a little bit more on the knuckles and stuff, and maybe a little bit more in the palm. Get that bulge here, pull that out. Maybe soft select and kind of push it in the middle, and maybe try to get a little bit more of the sort of pad shapes there. And I think if you can get a little more shape here, that might be good. Thumb's looking a little stretched. Might try to just spend a little more time on sculpting the hand. Use some reference. You got the twist in the arm, so yeah. Again, usable. I feel like maybe little, maybe too many on the neck. Maybe we can lose. Control delete. See if you lose if you take them out and the shape doesn't really change. You probably didn't need them in the first place. The goal is sort of to do the minimum needed to get the shape you want. And the neck is looking a little squared off, so you might want to spend some time on that. Symmetry working on this guy, apparently. So I might take these. That's not, though. No, it's not. Okay, I probably because I screwed it up here. I don't know. But yeah, make them symmetrical, and pull those out and pull out the front ones and soft select, and then you can get it rounded. So put a little time into that. But yeah, really good work. You have a full character. If you had to just stop and rig them now, you can use them. So this is good work. Next up is Nadia. Yeah, right off the bat, it's looking pretty good. Um, so let's take a closer look. I like what you've done with the hair. I think that'll work out well. Look out for these intersections. So, maybe pull that point out there so it's not intersecting the surface. Maybe try to, get the eyelid shape a little bit less jaggedy. I think that, I know it looks right there, but I think that, get this a little bit closer to the shape you want. And then if you need to, maybe you might add some edge loops there, or even, if you get the shape really close, you can then you can smooth it once, and then have more detail to work with. In fact, yeah, it's not so bad once it's smooth, but you might want to see if you can clean it up a little bit before you smooth it, because then there's just a lot more points to deal with. Yeah, the face is looking good. Maybe a little bit more shape to the lips. You might need another loop in there. It got a little bumpy here. Again, if it can kind of come out and then cut back in, sort of. And you might want to do a little bit more of a mouth cavity. You could take this edge loop and hey, it's not really an edge loop, I guess. Scale that up. Maybe not so much. Push this guy back. But yeah, I think you need a little more detail. Maybe get the mouth in a little bit more closer to closed neutral position. You could probably just take this edge loop and put on soft select B, hold down B to adjust the size, maybe a touch bigger, R for scale, and then yeah, we're sort of closing the mouth, but it is kind of messing up the lip shape a little bit, so you might have to do that a little bit more carefully. How does this do? Not great. Yeah, we might want to get more of the chin, really. If I turn off soft select, one thing I can do is select those two and do shift period, which is the greater than symbol, and I'll kind of grow my selection. Maybe take off those, control select those, and then maybe these two. That doesn't really make any difference, but maybe those. Now I have kind of that whole lower jaw, and I can still do soft select. Maybe make it a little smaller. Sort of move up that whole jaw so I'm not messing up the lip shape there. Move forward a touch. Yeah, maybe, another loop or two around the eyes, shape those eyelids. Like what you've done with the collar and shirt, that should work okay. You're probably going to want to smooth it before you rig it. This shape on the elbow is just, it just feels a little clunky here. I think I might, spend a little time on sculpting this and move these in a bit. And there's just, I think this kind of came out too much here. So, and you really got an elbow there. So maybe that's stuck out a bit too far and maybe up a touch. But then this really I don't think should be sticking out so much. And maybe we can move these down a bit. Anyways, you'll want to, if you only do one side like this, you'll want to mirror it. Yeah, I just think that's, it's good to have an elbow in there, but we don't want to overdo it. Yeah, that's starting to look a little better. Yeah, the hands could use some more detail. Add some loops on the either side of each knuckle, and just shape the hand more. And you'll probably need another couple loops there. Right now, it's pretty. Yeah, that thumb needs some attention. Whoops. Let me just select that. It looks like we've got some issues on the thumb. Yeah, we've got some. Really, wow. Yeah, so this needs some surgery. I might, to save myself the trouble. Well, so you can try to untangle this, or you could just delete it off from here and kind of re-extrude it out again. I'm a little bit finding myself in the let's just delete that off camp. And oh, see, yeah, wow, it's messed up all the way back here. So it's sort of it's like a redo kind of thing. Control, right mouse click, two faces. See, it just from the get-go, this looks like this got messed up. So I'm really just kind of trying to take it all the way back. I keep doing that. What's up with this edge? It's even in here. It's looking. So yeah, something went a little sideways from the very start here. And that's why I think from that point on it was going to be hard to make much of that. So so maybe we could start from here again with extrude edge. I don't know what we're going to end up with at that point. Hopefully not another mess. So yeah, just really trying to. get this, just take some time to shape this thing a little bit more, and then, extrude again. So I don't think I want to this model whole thumb, but I think hopefully you're getting the idea where maybe you can, start over from and get a bit of a cleaner starting point. Yeah, I mean that's so you can see how we're on a better trajectory here, and then extrude, and then I'll do it really kind of. I didn't want to extrude the verts. I want to extrude the edges. Oh, why is it being crazy? Let's just do this little channel changer thing. Okay. Scale that in some. One more time. Yeah. Oops. What did I do? Channel changer thing. Oh, I don't have the extrude there. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. Scale it in a touch. And then that's not great. There. All right. Well, and then let's fill hole. And then put the splits in with the multi-cut tool. Which else is supposed to be? Anyways, we just need to be quads, so let's just try those two. We get quads. Okay. More modeling to do on that, but at least, again, you're at a structurally sound place to move forward now. And yeah, these fingers need more work and shape, and they look very little short to me, whereas the kind of the length of the palm appears to me to be too big. So, sort of move those back, and then anyways, get some photo reference for that. So anyways, yeah, good progress. Definitely more you can do on this. Todd's up next, and yeah, right off the bat, looking really good. It's very symmetrical, looks structurally pretty sound. Oops. I would add some more detail on the fingers here. Got the little, and that thumb shape is looking a little odd. Definitely take a look at some reference there. And yeah, we got some shape to the boots. It's good. Okay. Just hide the helmet, which by the way looks really good. See what we got. We got a lot of edge loops going around the mouth. Got some decent lips going on. Can make the mouth cavity a little bigger. The nose looks good. I think you could spend a bit more time on these eyelids. Maybe add a couple loops and just spend a little more time in the shape and thickness of those. If you want, you could add some detail here and give him a little bit more pronounced of a brow, because he seems like the guy who'd have kind of a pretty pronounced brow. And let's get that helmet back on. Yeah, looking cool. So, yeah, really good helmet. I mean, this one is in very good shape. I think, yeah, just getting in, kind of adding some detail. Got some asymmetry going on. It's like he has two left feet or something when I look at it from that angle. I don't know. But, yeah, just, I think, pick your favorite side of him and re-mirror him to get those the same. And is this guy grouped? No. Or is it just it's mostly one thing, but we've got these two, so if I move this to this, oops, Oh, didn't want to do both at the same time. So yeah, let's just group them and center the pivot, modify center pivot, and try to move that group to the center. Does that work? Looks pretty good. I think you want, like I did with the first character. See how there's some asymmetry going on here, like whatever that line is not along the center line. So I would re-mirror him, and then get him along the center line and get his feet on the floor. Um, but yeah, I did the mirroring thing. I demoed that in the first character, so just refer to that. But yeah, really good. Um, like I think if you had to just rig him right now, like if you just hit the smooth button and then rig him, you'd pretty much work. So you're doing great. So this is Sean's here, and I am having the same problem that Byron mentioned, and yet Deborah is not. I don't know why. I don't know why this happens, but what I can see is that there's still all this history on there. So go into your working file. Looks like out of a zombie film. Go into the file that works, select all the surfaces, edit, delete by type, history, and then re-upload it. And I'll take a look and critique it from there. And I guess I would say it's not a bad idea for you guys to delete history off of your characters before you turn them in. It's just a standard all the way up until when we rig them. Then you need the history, but up until then you don't. So it also can make your file size a little smaller too. But just to avoid this weird explosion situation. Next up, Cameron. Um, yeah, so it looks like you've saved, old versions. At some point, you'll want to clear those out. In fact, for right now, I think I'm just gonna leave these in layers. Oh, good. No, not all of them, but maybe just hide and hide. And what are those image planes? I might go show cameras. It gets rid of that. Oh, image planes. Okay. So yeah, this is looking good. Kind of good basic topology here. This is something I like to avoid. These six-sided faces. It may look like four sides, or that's more than six sides, but you see each of those counts as a side. So I can understand the temptation to do that, but there's a couple things that can mess you up later on a little bit, which is like when you smooth it, it can sometimes. Oops, let's go to object mode. I mean, I guess that's not too bad. It can do some weird stuff there. Um, so, the choices are you either continue it or you terminate it. So if I hold down control, well, see, then I'm gonna have to terminate it there too, or something. But if I hold down control and do this, and then I guess you have a few of them here though. I mean, what you can do is you can, we don't necessarily like triangles, but you can, like do stuff like terminate, one of them in triangles there, and then maybe, maybe this one goes up for some extra detail here, and then you like terminate it here eventually. So you're putting the triangles somewhere, but not all in the same place. And then maybe like pull this one up and have it terminate somewhere up there as well. Or maybe this one, for example, I'm holding down control to get that, and if maybe you want more. Where did that go? I should hide this stuff. Oh, that's actually part of her face. Well, I would have thought that would sit on top of it. Is that combined, or is that... What happens if we go mesh separate? No? Wow, that's all one seamless thing. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I probably would have made the head and then put that in there. I can see you've got some bit of a crazy asymmetry thing here. I would, as I demonstrated on the first character, delete half and then remirror it. I don't know how much of that is intentional, but I would just say, yeah, remirror it. Yeah, other body. Yeah, I think that's kind of cutting in rather deeply there. Maybe get a little bit more shape, in the crotch area. And then I think, yeah, the butt could use a little bit more forming too. It's like it's get it a little rounder in here. You might need a couple other edge loops there. Get a little bit more of a sense of the knee. You might need edge loops for that. Like the back of the leg's okay, but if you could get a little bit of a knee shape, that's good. I think the feet and ankles can use a little bit of attention. And here we have these things not terminated again. There's a way you can check your surface for, um, you know, faces that aren't quads or triangles. So if I go into right mouse click and go to face, and then I go select using constraints, and then so if I say like I just want to select n-sided, means not quads or triangles, and then I select this whole thing. That's not right. Order off. Quads? Oh, sorry. I think I had it right. So I think I want next selection, and then there we go. Okay, that's where I messed up. Sorry. So it's saying like, do you want to? I had it on constraint nothing, so obviously it's not going to do anything. So I meant the next time I select something, just do the n-sided means basically more than 4 sides. So that will be a quick way to show you where you have any faces that are not quads. And you look at some of these, and I wouldn't have guessed like this one. So what's going on here? It's sure. See that? So that happens when you delete an edge without using Control Delete. So what I'm guessing is that there was an edge that ended here. Like, I'll show you what I mean. So that's why Control Delete is good. So I bet you had an edge there, and then you said, for whatever reason, I'm guessing here, you said, oh, I don't need that, and then you deleted it, and then it left those two split there. So let's just undo that. I think to fix that, I think if we grab, see, there should be 2 verts here. Is that right? No, there's still just one. But I should just be able to grab that one vert, Control Delete. No, and I guess then we can just put this back in here. There's probably a better way of doing that. But now, if I go ahead and let's go to Faces, get my selection tool. Next selection. Thank you very much. Oh, well, yeah. So this one's better, and it's just, yeah, not doing. So that has more than 4 sides. So this is a good way to kind of go along our model and see where there's any issues here. Yeah, you can see those two there. They're forming that one, and there's some on the feet. So it's a nice kind of check to see where I could look to, and there's any number of different ways to solve this stuff. If I go into multi-cut, if I hold, let's make sure the model's selected before I do that. I'm not being real careful about my symmetry here, but let's see where that, whoops, where does that terminate if I go? I can't see with all this headgear on. Hide that. Select multi-cut. Yeah, so we end up kind of moving the problem over there, But you sort of only do this if you feel like you needed that extra detail here and can work with it and kind of sculpt the arm shape more using that. Don't just leave it flat like that. Like really, for example, you could go in and select this and shift select here and kind of pull it out a little bit to, you know, round out the arm a little bit. We've got another one of those here. So, add it if you're going to use the extra, add that loop in if you're going to use the extra detail. And here I could just say, all right, well, let's just, I might actually, weld those two guys together. I don't think I need both of those. And then you might want to untangle this a little bit, but maybe I would just, to finish this off, I'll end up getting a triangle there, but, fine, who cares, right? And then, so it's like you've got to put it somewhere. And let's look at another example. So only add in that, and, continue the loop if you'll actually use the detail where you continued it. Otherwise, just, finish it off in a triangle somewhere or something like that. So, and I mean, there's other ways to deal with it. Like here, one kind of cool thing you can do with a multi-cut, like this is sort of a big shape, and what I look for, good topology, if I put it as simply as possible, is the faces are roughly equal size to each other. And so when you have very big faces and very small faces, that's where you have an issue. So like this is a very big face here compared to the ones around it, and that's pretty big there. So I could see like, okay, how can I, start splitting this up, and you can do stuff, actually, see that I got a triangle there. I hit delete. But what I was going to show is you can do stuff in the middle of a face too. And then, here I get a quad out of that, and then a quad out of this one. Actually, that worked out pretty good. I just got quads, except for this thing. I'm going to have to deal with this here. So, why does it? No, it's interesting. That's not wanting to let me connect those two. Sometimes that's there's something funny going on here. What is that? I keep hitting the wrong one. What is that? What happens if I delete that? Okay. If we go inside, yeah, it's kind of some crazy big face. So, yeah, let's just see what happens if we can delete it, and then see if it'll let us fill a hole. Oh, see, it wants to go all the way around there, and that's not so great. It's not really seeing this as contiguous, I think, for some reason. I think this is not going to work. Oh, dang. Just undoing to here. Yeah, that's a little bit tricky. Let's see what's happening here. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's not all connected there. Okay. What about this? Oh, that's connected. So, what if we did, this is kind of one of those surgical procedure kind of thing. Can I get rid of that? I don't think I can really get rid of that, but what if I like take multi-cut and I split this here and there, and then it's just confusing. What if I get rid of this face now? Okay, now then maybe like weld these two together. Yeah. Okay, now I think we're getting a little bit back into business. And then this is sort of a puzzle. Now it'll probably let me fill that hole. Yes. Okay. And then go back and model things back into place to fix it up now that we've sorted that out. yeah, get this a little more rounded. And probably, I don't like this. See how that's not a flat face? You want to, anytime you have a face that's like that, you kind of want to split it. And it could be as simple as turning it into two triangles, which maybe like the less elegant way to deal with it, you know. Or you could, add a loop along here, add a loop along there. Um, so yeah, good progress. I think there's a lot of work needs to be done on the mask. You should keep going with that. It looks very primitive right now. Um, yeah, keep moving. This is Steven, and he's even done a little movie for us, which is nice. Nice. Let's take a look at the model. I'm gonna just hide all and then, whoops, sorry, show none and then show polygons to get rid of. So I guess that thing is still in there. It's distracting me. Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, look at that. You did the zipper each individual thing here. Hope that moves with the rig well. It's the kind of thing I would more typically texture on. But I guess what we'll say is, let me see, what does this look like without that? Yeah. So if that becomes a problem, then you'll just texture it on and it'll be fine. If it's not moving well. Yeah, you got big mittens here. That looks good. And that's quite a zipper. Nice face. Let's take a closer look. I might turn off the wireframe unshaded. Yeah, I mean, really, this looks pretty good all around. The eyes are obviously exaggerated inside, so I would go ahead and add some edge loops in here and start building the lids. So I sort of demonstrated that a little bit on an earlier video, but if you take an edge loop like so and maybe scale that in a bit, maybe move it forward some, scale it this way a touch. I'm starting to get a little bit more of a lid. Looks like I've screwed something up. Yeah, there's something a little odd going on there. Did you terminate that here? Oh yeah, those are kind of right overlapping, so let's... Okay, yeah, you're gonna need... Oh, did you do that to make it look sharp? Yeah, don't have the edges right on top of each other, so you're gonna want to go through and pull that apart. Whoops. Oh, jeez. It's a little bit of a mess. Can we delete this whole loop? Control delete? Yes. What about this one? Yeah, I might kind of take a couple little steps back there because we've got some tricky sort of overlapping, like doubled up. Actually, that one might have been alright. I'm not sure. So, what do we? Let me just undo. I'm not sure what's going on here. Let me just reopen the file. I don't know how much of it's me having messed it up and what was like before. If you guys use the naming convention, it might be a little easier. I don't know what those errors are. Let's go back to this. Yeah, it is a little funny what we've got going on here. I definitely don't want two sets of edges on top of each other, it may not look like that when you're in smooth mode, but when you're in rough, I would tend to not do that. Are these complete edge loops? So anyways, I would get in there and try to spread these out a little bit and then start, it's tough because they're so close together, which is why I was saying maybe we can get rid of, I did Control Delete. Yeah, I think that gets rid of some of the just confusion there. Can we afford to lose this one too? And then we kind of have a bit more of a clean starting point, and then I can add in, here we go, one here without that overlap, and then maybe start working towards, maybe this one can actually move out a little bit. Oh, that's not a full edge loop around, but is this one? Yeah, that one is. Um, so yeah, anything you make between these two will be a full edge loop. So you'll want to start, kind of taking stuff like that, and then maybe we can start. I want to turn my. Anyways, I mean, a lot more shaping is going to have to go on here, and you'll have to fix that up. But the idea is to, you know, add a loop, pull it a little bit, shape it more carefully with the tools we've been showing, and then add another loop and shape and pull it in until you have lids that will allow you to blink. And get rid of those where you have two rows of edges on top of each other. This is looking good. Something about the shape of his face, I kind of feel like there's maybe too much of an angle. It feels like the whole head is at kind of a bit of an angle that way. I wonder if you kind of push this in a little bit, if that would help. I don't know. And I think the large exaggerated eyes. The other thing is you generally are going to want your eyes to be a perfect sphere because you're going to rotate that sphere around and then shape the eyelid to the sphere shape. And here you've got like looks like a bit of an egg-shaped thing. And so what'll happen, if you rotate that, see how it can penetrate the. It's not that bad. I mean, you can sort of almost get away from it. And it's just kind of weird how you have this very three-dimensional sort of lens or pupil there, or whatever that is, iris. So what I would say is maybe get rid of those and make this a perfect sphere, and then make sure that the eyelids fit neatly around the sphere. Is all okay with this? Is that? It just looks sharp there. It could just be a normal soften thing. Yeah, that's all that was. So I can almost just take the whole thing and soften it. Yeah, that fixes all that. So yeah, you might try to get a little more sort of pieces of hair, like a big piece, so that we see. This looks a little kind of mashed down, so like, one couple pieces here, then maybe more there. Might look a little nicer. Yeah, and I mean, by the nature of the sort of snowsuit, you're not going to see much anatomy. But yeah, if we can get a little more of the shape of the knee in there, I'm not sure. Get some, take a look at some reference. Don't overdo it with wrinkles and stuff, but if there's anything you can do to make the anatomy show through the jacket a little bit more, I think that's going to help it. I think one thing I would recommend is if you can give him with his arms, when your arms are up at your side, you have a little bit more of a shoulder shape. So if you can get, I'm exaggerating here, we get a little bit more of a shoulder shape and a little bit more of an armpit going, that can be good. But yeah, very good model, and this is another one where if we had to put it on it right now, it would work. You'd be ready to go. You'd be fine. So, okay, next up is Crystal. All right, got a good start. Got some pretty good looking clothes going on. Probably the feet could be a little more shape to them. Maybe add some loops there. You can see we have some. This is a case where I wouldn't, there's no reason to not make these quads. So if I am holding down Control, and then I'll click here and click here, and now we're quads again. It's not like, oops, I kind of think I messed that up. Make sure you click right on those. So that's, and then again here, get that, and then hook these together. Enter, click, click, enter. So that's going to be better. But then, yeah, keep adding some more detail and flesh those out a little bit. This back of the pants is looking a little bit of a weird shape here. Try to get that a little more form-fitting, I think, to the body. You don't, yeah, I mean, I don't tend to recommend having the clothing, what I would do is just have the arms go in here and then delete all the faces of the body. It's just sort of going to cause you more trouble than it's worth. The face, I think it needs a lot of attention. It's looking a little sort of early stages here. So, I mean, I think a lot of the topology isn't that far off, although it's hard to tell just because there's some weird shapes here. Make sure you're clicking 1 to see it in rough mode, because it should look sound in that mode as well. And you've got, like, for example, these extreme cheekbone things poking out, so I would say, if that's what you need, then you probably need more. Don't do that by really pulling out those points. Push those back in, add another edge loop or two, and then shape it with the new loops that you have. Yeah, I just think working on some more form and shape on this thing. It's the nose isn't that distinct from the face right now. So work on that shape, and I think when you're doing these kind of extreme pulling points thing to get a shape so that it looks good and smooth, that's not a great way to work. So make sure you're switching back and forth a lot, and if you're finding you have to pull something that far, or in this example this far, to get the shape, then take a step back, add some detail, and then move those new points around. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good start. Hands look a bit small to me, so I might get those bigger. Whoops. Let's just select the verts of them so they get nice and centered on them. Yeah, your thumb's looking a little messed up. I'd have to do a little surgery to clean that up, and the fingers just need a little bit more shape, and the a little more, the pinky can be skinnier, but for example, the index is going to be about the same width as these two. So, and then if you don't have to have this along a straight line, you can have them. There's like a curve here as well if you want to get that in where the fingers start. Yeah, and then you can add some loops to the forearm, get more shape there, and then the wrist, get it formed a little well. So yeah, I mean, it's a decent start. We've got a ways to go. But yeah, there's some pretty good structure here, so I think it's just about spending some time to really, get your shapes right, clean up the sculpt, and make sure you're looking at it in rough mode and not just smooth mode. Because obviously that looks better here, but the model itself is a little, the structure is not great. Next up is Stephanie, and yeah, right off the bat, this looks pretty good. Hands look like they could use a little bit of love, a little bit more attention. Just adding some loops and getting some shape. The thumb looks a bit thick and misshapen, so spend some time on that. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the plan is with this shirt. I think it's again one of those things where you don't have to build the whole body underneath the clothing, so I would delete the faces that we're not going to see, and that's going to save you a lot of trouble down the line. Legs are pretty well formed. To kind of spend some time working on the knee shape. You might need another loop there, and get that knee shape going. That's going to be important. And look out for the back of the legs is pretty flat on the thigh, so maybe see if you can get this rounded out a little. It's kind of round, but I think you can get a little more rounded. Um, yeah, and like I was mentioning before, get some more edge loops around the eyes and form those lids a little bit more. And I think you could define the nose some more as well. Um, get some more geometry here to work with. And yeah, the lips have gone a little bit crazy here. So this is like I was talking with this last one. If you have to pull stuff that far and you get these really kind of odd and pointy shapes to be able to have it look right and smooth, and you don't, it's not a great way to model. So kind of pull that stuff back in. Add another loop or two, and shape them a little bit more carefully. And then here, yeah, try to get these to fit the eyeball a little more closely, and add one loop at a time around the eye to get some shape to that. Hair's got a nice shape to it. I like the visor thing. Um, so yeah, it's a good start, but just yeah, look out for those really stretched out faces, and try to simplify them. I showed earlier extruding an edge and kind of wrapping it around is a nice way to give the cloth a look of thickness. But yeah, and then I showed also a couple times getting the character along the origin line, so have the feet touching the ground and the character um, centered on the origin line. Um, but yeah, good progress. So next up we have Byron, and this is interesting because you are not really doing the facial topology quite like the other one. But if we go back to the design and that sort of drawn on face, if you're going to go for that, I think I have an existing tutorial on how to do like a 2D animated face, which I'll try to post below. I think your fingers need some attention, and are going to need more detail, more splits of the loops, and don't leave them all squared off like that. Get that kind of more rounded shape, and I think yeah, just spend some time on those because um, and yeah, I think the feet could use some attention too, a little bit more. You've got overlapping vertices there, which is something to avoid, and get a little more shape to these feet going. That way, again, add some loops here and there and over the top, so you can form those a little more. Um, Overall, though, I think it's pretty good, and it's pretty um, faithful to the design. I think if you had to just smooth it now and rig it, it would work. So you're really not far off. Um, and you may even want to do that to continue sculpting, but you will have a lot of geometry to work with. Maybe there's more. Oh no, that's probably all right. Um, so yeah, I put this mouse shape tutorial on here, and it's not perfect. It's sort of done impromptu. You might find a better one on YouTube, but you can get the gist of it here. Next up is Suan. So yeah, I thought I saw something. Oh, okay, no hands yet. Okay, so yeah, this is looking good so far. You'll definitely, I think you're going to want to marry the head and oops, got the head and body, and I believe I demonstrate that in the course. But you'll want to delete those faces off and line up the verts, and then combine and then merge. So, but if you need help with that, let me know. The face is looking pretty promising. Yeah, look out for some of these kind of pinchy areas there, but I think we're all right. Might be a little challenging to sculpt some facial shapes, but it's pretty good. I think maybe some attention in the eye. Look out for some of these overlapping edges, and this is one where maybe I would just hit the smooth and then um, see, that's where you get, yeah, a lot of this sort of pinching. I might, if I was going to do the smooth thing, what I might do is, to keep sculpting, is I might see if I can lose an edge loop here or something. I don't think I can. It's just you've got these pretty extreme shapes and some overlapping edges, and that's why the smooth, you get some of that kind of pinching and sharpness to it. So I might try to untangle that a little bit before smoothing, and then same here, try to untangle that a little bit, maybe add a little bit more loops and try to get some eyelid shapes going as I demonstrated earlier. I mean, the shape seems pretty faithful to your design, which is good. Um, Legs look a little kind of lumpier than I remember in the design, but maybe not so different. I don't know. I think, yeah, I feel like you have a slightly different shape here, so maybe try to get back to that. Maybe a little, like, push in some of this a little bit um, here, and then get a little bit more of the knee shape, and then maybe not so wide at the top of the calf. Probably use a little more detail on the feet. Um, the crotch looks a little low, but it's kind of in the design. This looks, I worry when I see these very long, sort of stretched out faces, so maybe get another edge loop in there, and kind of model in some detail in the shape there. Um, yeah, and get the hands going and all that. So yeah, I think it's a good start, and just keep on moving forward. So next we have Courtney, and Courtney's at a pretty early stage. And I opened this file called her, and what I see in here is different from what I'm seeing there. So I'm wondering, maybe you turned in the wrong version or something, or I don't know, because this looks a lot different from what you have there. So yeah, I guess it's a bit early for me to say much about it. So yeah, keep going and ask for help and um, yeah, just keep progressing. Next up is Pierre, and let me just put normals on smooth here. Soften, I mean. Okay. Yeah, I think this is, obviously you've put a lot of time into this sort of half cat, half human shape to the face, and that's coming along quite well. Make sure you kind of build the mouth cavity in there. You could just, is this an edge loop? I hope it is. Yeah, so you could just extrude face and pull those back and form a mouth cavity from there. I would look to maybe terminate this edge. Let's see if we can lose that one. I kind of think you can. Because that was causing sort of a pinch thing. And yeah, this one's, I guess those are all right. Yeah, so really good work there. Get the neck in there, get it connected to the body. The body's got a good start. Look for this sort of a bit of this unevenness here. This distance here is pretty tight compared to that longer distance. So see if you can spread out that edge loop a little bit. The arm shape is coming along well. Obviously, the legs are at a pretty primitive stage. But you're getting a pretty good shape to the body, and that you've done a very nice job on the head so far. So I think you've got a good start. But let's just see some hands and feet, and get the neck and the connections and stuff in there, and keep going. Mouth cavity. You might want an eye cavity. Work on the eyelids. Even like a little. If we're going to see that, you'll want kind of a little nostril cavity again. Select the edge loop, extrude the edge, pull it in. Yeah, let me know if you need any help with that. But yeah, I mean the face has a really good look, so it's a promising start, and I'm sure you'll do well in the rest.